Some secrets are hidden for a reason, and some people spend the rest of their lives wishing they had never found them. What if everything you believed was carefully planted? Every clue, every document, every strange light in the sky, not to reveal the truth, but to hide it. In the early 1980s, an ordinary electronics engineer living in New Mexico began noticing something unusual. Strange radio signals, unexplained lights above a nearby military base, patterns that seemed too organized to be random. Unlike most people, he didn't ignore them. He built his own equipment. He recorded every signal. He photographed the sky night after night. The more he investigated, the more convinced he became that something extraordinary was happening. Then the Air Force showed up, not to stop him, not to arrest him, but to help him. Or at least, that's what he believed. Government officials gave him documents. Experts encouraged his research. Even some of the biggest names in UFO investigations took an interest in his discoveries. For Paul Bennewitz, it felt like proof that he was getting closer to the greatest discovery in human history. But decades later, former intelligence insiders would make a shocking claim. What if none of it was real? What if every document, every meeting, every clue had been carefully designed to push one man toward a completely false reality? This isn't just a story about UFOs. It's a story about manipulation, psychological warfare, and one question that remains unanswered to this day. Who was really being watched? The sky, or Paul Bennewitz? Before becoming the center of one of the most controversial intelligence stories ever told, Paul Bennewitz wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He was a respected businessman, an accomplished electronics engineer, and the owner of Thunder Scientific, a successful technology company based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Friends described him as intelligent, methodical, and deeply curious. He trusted science. He trusted evidence. And above all, he believed every mystery had a logical explanation. That belief would soon lead him to a place where logic seemed to disappear. Or his name became connected to one of the most controversial stories in modern history. Paul Bennewitz was known for something completely different. He wasn't a journalist, he wasn't a military officer, and he certainly wasn't a conspiracy theorist. Paul was a successful electronics engineer and the founder of Thunder Scientific, a respected technology company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Colleagues described him as brilliant, disciplined, and obsessed with solving difficult problems. He believed that every mystery had a logical explanation, if you looked closely enough. His company specialized in advanced electronic equipment, giving him the technical knowledge to build his own antennas, receivers, and monitoring systems. Unlike the average person, Paul knew exactly how to detect and analyze unusual radio signals. That knowledge would soon change his life forever. Just a few miles from his office stood one of the most heavily guarded military installations in the United States, Kirtland Air Force Base. A place linked to advanced weapons research, classified technology, and some of the country's most secretive projects. To most people, it was simply another military base. But to Paul, it became the center of a mystery that would consume the rest of his life. Late at night, while testing his homemade equipment, he began receiving strange radio transmissions. Signals that didn't behave like ordinary military communications. They appeared in unusual patterns, repeated themselves, and seemed to come from somewhere near the base. At first, Paul assumed there had to be a perfectly rational explanation. So he did what any engineer would do. He started collecting evidence. Every signal, every photograph, every unusual event. Because he believed that sooner or later, the facts would reveal the truth. He had no idea that someone else might already be watching him. At first, the lights appeared only once in a while, small, silent, almost impossible to notice unless you were looking for them. But Paul kept watching, night after night, week after week, and the more he observed, the more convinced he became that these weren't ordinary aircraft. Determined to understand what he was seeing, Paul installed cameras around his property. He upgraded his antennas, built more sensitive receivers, and began recording every strange signal that reached his equipment. Soon, boxes of photographs, handwritten notes, and radio recordings filled his office. He wasn't trying to prove a conspiracy. He was trying to solve a puzzle. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of ignoring his reports, the United States Air Force responded. To Paul, this felt like confirmation. If the military was willing to listen, then maybe his discoveries were real. Meetings were arranged. Questions were asked. Military personnel showed interest in what he had collected. For the first time, Paul believed he wasn't investigating alone. But looking back today, many researchers believe this was the moment everything changed, because from this point on, the line between genuine investigation and carefully controlled deception would become almost impossible to see. Paul believed he was getting closer to the truth, but what if someone else was leading him there on purpose? As Paul's investigation continued, new people began entering his life. Among the most controversial was a man named Richard Doty, a special agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. According to later accounts, Doty provided Paul with documents and information that appeared to support his growing beliefs. The papers described secret underground bases, alien technology, and an extraterrestrial presence operating in New Mexico. To Paul, these documents seemed authentic. Each new page confirmed what he already suspected. He became convinced that the strange signals, mysterious lights, and classified military activity were all connected. He spent countless hours trying to decode radio transmissions, believing they contained messages from non-human intelligence. But years later, a very different story emerged. Several researchers and even some former intelligence figures claimed that Paul had been deliberately fed false information, not to reveal the truth, but to distract him from highly classified military projects taking place near Kirtland Air Force Base. If those claims are true, Paul wasn't uncovering a secret. He was becoming a part of one. As the years passed, his obsession grew stronger. Friends noticed dramatic changes in his behavior. His health declined, his business suffered, and the line between reality and deception became impossible for him to separate. To this day, no one can say with complete certainty exactly what Paul Bennewitz discovered. Some believe he exposed the first signs of a massive cover-up. Others believe he became the victim of one of the most sophisticated disinformation operations of the Cold War. Whatever the truth may be, his story remains one of the most disturbing intersections of government secrecy, psychological manipulation, and human curiosity ever recorded. Maybe Paul Bennewitz never found aliens. Maybe he found something even more dangerous. The power of believing a carefully constructed lie. So, what do you think? Was Paul Bennewitz chasing the truth, or was the truth chasing him?